What's going on, everyone? Larry here. I'm simply a comedy fan, chatting with and interviewing comedians, and this is Life's a Bit with Larry Mullins. Today's guest was born in Germany and relocated to the States almost 10 years ago and made her way to stand-up through sketch comedy and improv. Please welcome the beautiful, the hilarious Miss Meike. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Awesome, cool. It's nice to finally at least meet you this way.
I know. We're not that far apart, I think. A couple hours.
You are where again?
South Carolina, right by Charlotte.
That's crazy. I was in Charleston a few months ago.
Oh, really?
Do you know where that is?
Yeah, I go there all the time. It's like 3 hours from me.
Okay, so yeah, from here, it takes me 8 hours to get there.
Oh, wow.
To Charleston, it takes 8 hours.
Wow.
It takes maybe about 5.5 to get to North Carolina from where I live.
Okay.
But
Charleston is like, for people that live here, it's like this big weekend trip kind of thing. They just head down to Charleston, or just for a day, if you're crazy enough.
Well, first off, I love your accent.
Thanks.
And you were born in Germany?
Mm-hmm.
How long did you live in Germany? Like, when did you?
Until I was 21, and then I worked for a German company here, and when I did my apprenticeship, I did kind of like an exchange program where they let people come over here because the same company. So I was here for 6 weeks, and then ever since as a teenager, I always wanted to go to America because everybody was like, yeah, the land of freedom, and you can do whatever you want. So I got the chance to come here for 6 weeks, and I just didn't want to go home for some reason. So, and then our manager back then, he was like, yeah, just send me all the information, and when you finish your apprenticeship, maybe I can help you get a job over here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sure enough, I had 1 year left of my apprenticeship. And he reached back out, and he talked to HR over here, and then I had my final exam, and the next morning I was on the plane over here.
Wow, that's so cool. So is all of your family still over there? And
yeah, I came all by myself.
Wow. And they were totally fine with that? You're like, oh, I'm just going to America, bye.
Not really. I mean, they were kind of like preparing for it because when I came back from my exchange, I told them how much I liked it here and I just want to go back. So, and I told them I got the offer to get a job here if I want it. So they were kind of like mentally preparing for it. They're like, yeah, she really likes it, so she's probably going to go.
That's awesome. I mean, I took in I'm sure it's a little different when I was in what we have here is, I mean, it could be the same in Germany, I don't know, but as far as like grade school, here we have like kindergarten through 6th grade, and then we go to middle school, which is just 7th and 8th, and then it's 4 years of high school. And when I was
in Germany, we have.
Sorry, go ahead.
In Germany we have kindergarten too until you're like 5-6 years, and then you do grade 1 to 4 as elementary, and then we have like different kind of school options, like depending on how good of a student you are, you can go like to a higher education, kind of like middle school, high school, and then you can do either like go to college or do an apprenticeship, but you have to like finish the highest form of school to be able to study, otherwise you can't study.
Oh, so it's a requirement. Like, I have to get this accomplishment before I'm allowed to do this or whatever.
Yeah, like if you already know you wanna study at university, then after you do 4th grade elementary school, you have 3 schools to choose from, which we call Gymnasium, Realschule, and Hauptschule. So it depends on like how strong of a student you are. So if you're a really good, fast learner, you would go to the highest kind of like option. So you would, like back when I went to school, you had to complete grade 13, and then you would get your qualification so you can go study in university. And if you would finish at 10th grade, you wouldn't be able to study. And if you went to the other 2 schools, you wouldn't be able to go to university. You
Oh,
can do apprenticeships, but you don't have the qualification to go to university.
that sounds really complicated.
So yeah, so when you're like in elementary school, you kind of like need to get like an idea, like, okay, do I want to have a job where I need to study for, or because in Germany it's different. Like here, you have to go to like all kinds of for any job you would have to go to university and study. But in Germany, we have lots more apprenticeships. Like even for a banker, you can do an apprenticeship. So you can finish after 10th grade, do a banker apprenticeship, and you don't have to study for it, and then just
S-
get the job.
So you can start the apprenticeships like really early.
Yeah, like 10th grade.
Yeah, like a lot of it last at least here, like you can't like really do apprenticeships until after you graduate high school or you have some college courses, you know. But I
Yeah.
mean, that'd be cool to start something like that'd be cool to start an apprenticeship like at the age 15 or 16. That'd be, I mean, I know some of the laws like are different over there. Like isn't the drinking age younger? Isn't the drinking age
It's
really young over there?
Yeah, it's 16 for beer and 18 for liquor.
Wow. I should have been in Germany. Um, yeah, no, it's funny. Yeah, it's 21 here. You know, when
Yeah,
I
yeah, it was weird because
you were saying,
um yeah, in Germany, like, I mean, the legal drinking age for beer is 16, but of course when you're like 14, 15, you have friends that are older, then invite you and you just have a couple of beers with them. So you start at like 15, 16 drinking beer, or even like other stuff. But then when I came over here, I was 20 the first time I came, and I want your hand so everybody can knows like you can't drink. And I'm like, I've been drinking for 5 years in Germany, and then I come here and I can't. It's weird. So I had to wait like a year until I was able to drink here.
bear with me, and it's got a thing saying my internet connection's unstable, but we haven't been kicked out, and you're not frozen, so it's raising my blood pressure. I can't take it. No, I'm joking. Yeah, but you come over here and you're like, I've been drinking for 5 years already. What's the problem?
I know. It's like you tell people like, "Hey, I'm German. We can drink at 16," but they don't care. They just follow the rules here, and you're just like, "Okay, I guess I'm not allowed to."
When I turned 21, I my coworkers took me out, and I remember I ordered a drink, and the waitress laughed at me because I looked like I was 15. Like I looked really young when I was 21. I didn't have any facial hair, and she straight up said, "You're not 21." And I showed her my ID, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "I know, I look like a little kid, you know." But everything, pretty much everything over here is 21 now, like everything, and
Yeah.
it's I did though being 21, those were the days. So I wanted to ask you, like, how is the? Because I mean, I've never been to Germany. I took maybe a semester or two of German when I was in school, and I didn't do good at it. I tried to learn other languages. I took 3 years of French, and I failed the third year. But I didn't. I didn't need it to graduate. But how is the? Now, did you when you were still in Germany, did you decide you wanted to start comedy? Like, what's the scene like over there? Is there a scene, or was it a thing you're like, I'm not going to start till I get
Um.
to America?
We do have a scene in Germany, but for me, it was like when I was like in 5th grade, I got like more seriously into it. I was like 11 years old. So, and then I got like interested in it. I was watching all kinds of like comedy and stand up shows on TV. And one of my best friends back then, we like watched the same shows, and then we kind of like tried to like even like sketch shows, and we were like, oh, let's write up some our own ideas, some sketch ideas. And back then we didn't have smartphones, so it was like hard to videotape something
Oh
unless
yeah.
somebody had like a camcorder. And my friend, she actually had a camcorder, so I would do like sleepovers at her house, and we would like just redo like the sketches we saw on like TV, and just kind of like play them out with her camera. And that's when I was like, that's probably when I had my first thought of like, yeah, I want to do something like that when I like grow up. And we did it for like a year or so, and then I switched schools, so we were not really that much in contact. And I had like a notebook with some written ideas that I had, but then it kind of like the whole idea kind of like got lost, and I was just following my school path and did my apprenticeship with the company I'm with now. And it wasn't really until like a little over 2 years ago when I started going to like open mics locally here, like just as an audience member. With a friend and I, we like went and watched, and the host kind of like came up afterwards and talked to me, and I told him, oh yeah, I was always interested in comedy as a teenager, and he said, yeah, you should come out and try it one day. And that's kind of when my whole like plan of being in comedy came back, and the whole idea. And I was like, okay, this is like stand up is totally different than just like sketch comedy where you just have like a script and you play it out.
Mm.
So and then I was like, okay, where do I even start with stand up? And I took some online classes, and everybody just kept saying, yeah, just go up there and just talk about something. I'm like, I don't want to. I want to be prepared. Like, I'm not the type of person that just goes up and talks random stuff because I want people to laugh.
Oh yeah, no,
So,
there's no way I could do that. I would not be brave enough to do that. Like I'd have to like have something written down and
yeah, because everybody just said, oh, just go up and talk about something. People will laugh. And I'm like, no, I want like the perfect 5 minutes when I go up there.
yeah.
So it took me from when he talked to me, it took me about half a year until I was like, okay, I feel like I'm ready now. I got some stuff written down. I watched some YouTube videos. I took some online classes. So I kind of like have the idea of how stand-up works. And I did like a couple open mics locally. And of course I bombed. People laughed a little bit, but it was still like a terrifying feeling just standing there. And of course I didn't want to like use my notes, so I'm like, okay, and you just like draw blank, like, okay, well, what should I talk about? And you just kind of like start ranting, and it's just like weird. So
From
yeah, I've done a
I'm sorry, I was really quick. Like pretty much everyone I've talked to, I think bombing at the very beginning is pretty much normal. Like
yeah.
I think if somebody doesn't, that then they're like incredibly lucky. But I would have been like so nervous because like when I was younger, I was in bands and stuff, and when we would play on stage, I'd be nervous. I'd be wanting to like stand behind people. It's like I couldn't just get up on stage and just try to be funny into a microphone. There's no way I could do that. I couldn't.
Yeah, yeah. The first open mic, I actually like at least one or two things to kind of like have like this a little loose feeling to where you don't care so much anymore if you make a fool of yourself. So I had like two drinks and I did it, and people actually came up afterwards like, oh yeah, you did great. And my friend said, oh yeah, it was great, it wasn't that bad. But still, I mean, of course it's not perfect the first time you go up, and it all takes work. And but I feel like now, almost 2 years after my first open mic, I feel like I don't get afraid as much anymore of bumping,
Hmm.
because now it's like up and up there so much, and you kind of like get an idea of what works and what not. And yeah, and it's just kind of like you're getting used to of not every joke landing and bombing. And you kind of like, I don't want to say you learn to deal with the silence, but it kind of like helps you getting better, because then you know, okay, this joke didn't work, like it needs work. And then I was listening to the recording and try some new stuff and just try it again.
Well, I mean, I can't think of any like. I'm sure you stand out too because your accent, you're from Germany. That's awesome. Like I don't know of many like comedians that are from other countries, except for like Jim Jeffries. He's Australian, but I mean like I don't know. Maybe I've been living under a rock. Maybe there is some other German comedians in the states that I don't know about, but I love the accent. I think it's an extra. It's kind of like a almost like an added bonus because it kind of I don't know, how do I word it? It's like I'm kind of more inclined to listen to somebody with a cool accent, like somebody who has like a different voice. Like I'm more like, oh, that sounds interesting. And does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. People tell me all the time, like, I really like your voice, but I know everybody hates their voice when it's recorded and they have to listen
Oh
to
God,
it.
yeah.
But people always say like, "Oh yeah, your accent is so cool." But then for me, it's like I feel like it's like an extra added um difficulty because then I have to like write my material in a totally different language. And then when I format and I get like too excited, I like lose some words and I haven't really written any German jokes until like maybe this like almost 2 years now, and I haven't done any joke in German because people always come up and like, oh, it must be so cool being able to do comedy in two languages. And I was like, honestly, I haven't done anything in German yet. And I just finally started like writing some jokes in German. And I'm trying to like find actual like open Zoom mics in German or Germany or just some German speaking ones to actually try it out, but haven't had any luck yet.
And so you've been actually writing some jokes like in German.
Yeah. There's like
That's
on Twitter, there's the English word of the day word prompt kind of page, and then somebody actually made one with the German word of the day Twitter account. So I've been like following that a little bit and just take like the German word of the day and
I actually think I
try to
have seen one of
write
yours that's been in
some.
completely in German.
Yeah. I try to like do more in German because most of the jokes like don't really translate that well because then they kind of like lose the meaning.
Yeah.
Like especially like wordplay, you can't really just translate it, and it wouldn't make sense. So it's like, but some of the jokes were just talk about like experiences and all that should I can easily translate. But it's definitely a challenge, and I don't really have like I have a few German speaking friends around me here that I
Hmm.
talk to, not as often, but I noticed when I actually write jokes in German, there's a few times where I actually have to Google words in German
Really?
because I feel like I'm losing some words and how to, like, even at work when I make notes or my calendar, I do everything in English. I don't do anything in German anymore.
I mean, that's cool. Did that take a while? Did that take a while to get used to?
It took me a couple of years. Like, right when I moved here, I did like most stuff in German. Did I like made notes for myself at work or just wrote stuff down or just thinking in my head. But now I just like the last couple of years, I got to the point like I like dream completely in English. Like when I like think about something in my head, it's like all English. Um, yeah, I like barely do anything in German unless I actually text my German friends.
That's cool. I mean, did that take you did that take you a long time to get used to? Or,
It
is it something you
did. I
kind
think what
of
helped was when I moved here. I think a year after I moved here, I actually went to school here too. Because my company offered the college program. So I actually went to college here, to community college, got some degrees, and it kind of like helped me like getting more used to doing everything in English, like writing essays and all that. And I guess they kind of like trained my brain to just think more in English
Mhm.
than German because all the home bit.
Thank you again for bearing with me. This is we're
No
still
problem.
here. We haven't been kicked off anymore. And little bit that's the good thing about editing is like little parts where like there's some freezing going on, I'll just take out. I'm just so mad because I've been looking forward to this and this has literally never happened. This is the first time it's happened. That's why I'm just like, of course. But I just gotta roll with it. How many times have I'm sure you've heard some too. I've heard several podcasts where like, "Oh, sorry, we had some technical difficulties," and they had to start right back up. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm panicking. I'm
Yeah.
panicking and I'm like, it's not a big deal. It's okay. Um, so now you didn't
At least
actually,
you're not live somewhere.
at least I'm not what?
At least you're not live broadcast. At least you're not live
Oh yeah.
broadcasting somewhere.
Oh yeah. No, I'd like, well, there go,
Then it would be.
like, there goes my job. So so you didn't try stand up until you moved to the States, or did you try it in Germany?
Mhm.
You did, so you started it
I
when
haven't
you came to America, or
done it
you've
in
done it in,
Germany
okay.
yet.
You
Hmm.
haven't done it in Germany yet.
Yeah, I started here when I
Okay.
no, because I've been here for 10 years this year,
Oh wow,
and
awesome.
I started comedy like seriously like 2 years ago. So yeah, I didn't even think I would stay that long over here, but no, it's been like 10 years this year.
That's cool. You're like, yeah, I'm just gonna. You said you didn't think you were gonna stay over here that long. Yeah, I'm like sitting there. I'm trying to figure out what your age is, but don't worry, you don't have to tell me. I'm like, you left Germany when you've been here. I'm trying to like do the math in my head, and I suck at math, so you don't have to tell me. I'll just use my imagination. um, and you mentioned like sketch shows. I used to love like sketch comedy, watching like even I don't really like Saturday Night Live so much anymore. Um, I liked a lot of the. Yeah, I guess you would have been in America by then. When I really liked Saturday Night Live is like the cast when like Bill Hader was on there. Bill Hader, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, like that whole cast. That's like when I really loved Saturday Night Live. And other random sketch shows I've liked, but I didn't even like. I've always liked bigger comics like Jerry Seinfeld, George Carlin, stuff like that. But I didn't really start like really getting into it until like the pandemic started. Cuz I just started like looking up like everything. Oh, I've never heard of this person, and I'm so still soaking it all in. I don't know if you're the same way or
Yeah, when I was a little kid, like yeah, when I was a little kid, I always had to spend like I spent weekends at my grandma's house, and then we had like something similar to Saturday Night Live, where it was just called like Saturday Night. It was like the German version of it, where they had like the studio, and then they would do like sketches in the
Mhm.
studio, have like guests, and because at home my mom didn't like the show, so she never wanted me to watch it. So I always got excited because my grandma would let me watch it because some of the things, like some of the sketches, are like not really for kids, like the way they talk and the words they use. But my grandma always let me watch it as a little kid, so I always got excited to watch it. And then yeah, about 2 years ago, I got into improv too, and then through improv, I found some sketch workshops. So and then last December, I actually did the one with Kevin McDonald. Where
Hold on.
in
Hold on. I'm sorry. Repeat that again. You said you did an improv with Kevin McDonald, right? I saw that on your
a sketch
Instagram.
sketch workshop?
Sketch workshop. How was that?
It was really good. Like
I
everybody
remember
was like,
watching
"Oh my,
Kids in the Hall. I watched Kids in the Hall, and
yeah." Yeah, everybody told me about the show, and I was like, I've never heard about it. So I kind of like felt bad because I was taking this workshop, and I didn't know about the show because I didn't grow up here. So I actually started binge watching it online, and I really liked the show, but it all played like 30 years ago, I think. And the workshop with him was actually good. It was 6 weeks, and then we had a weekly meeting, and we got to our sketch premises, and would like tell us what to do, what not, how to edit it. And then we had a final showcase where I think we had 20 sketches. So mine got picked too for the showcase. And then I think mid of January we had a showcase live on Facebook where he was like kind of performing with us. He was like playing some songs in between and singing, and then we got to perform our own sketches while he was on the show with us.
that
So it was
that
pretty good.
that's really cool.
I liked it.
Hopefully that wasn't too expensive for you. Um,
I don't know, it was actually pretty reasonable.
did you speaking of like improv, have you ever watched Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I've watched a few, and
I actually think
I don't know if you heard.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if you heard about Queen City Comedy. It's like a charlotte-based kind of like comedy group. They have a lot of workshops and Zoom meetings all the time. And Colin Mockery and Jonathan Mangum, they both had like Zoom meetings with them where people could come on and ask them questions. So I was on the Zoom with is it Jonathan Mangum from Whose Line? Jonathan Mangum.
I think so. I know
Yeah, I was on
I
a Zoom
love
with
Colin
him.
Mockery. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he was on one of the Zooms with Queen City Comedy.
And they were just giving
Yeah.
advice and answering questions.
Yeah, it was like a Q&A kind of meeting. You would just have to sign up. It was free, and then you just sign up. They had like 20 or 25 spots. So when it was full, it was full. And you were just on a Zoom with them. They would talk a little bit about their life and what they're doing now, and then you could just like chime in, ask your questions. That's how I got into the workshop of Kent McDonald too.
That's awesome. And then just I guess watching all of that, that's just kind of that kind of inspired you to, I guess, start comedy, or that just helped you with kind of like the being on stage and kind of I'm just trying to get like the train of thought, like, you did this and then that led you to this and then you started doing that.
Yeah, it started like with just like comedy open mics about 2 years ago, and then I went to a improv show at a studio a couple minutes from here, and I saw they were offering improv classes.
Hmm.
And then online, I read that improv can help you like just like getting used to being on stage and talking and all that. So I signed up for that, hoping it will like get me more comfortable doing comedy. And then through the improv studio, I made like new connections with like the sketch workshop, and then they have like the Queen City Comedy Festival here yearly, which didn't happen last year, but 2019 it happened, and you could volunteer for that. And then some of like the known comics would come to that one too. Like Kevin McDonald came, Fortune Famester came once, and then if you volunteered, you would like help checking in all the comics. Like some volunteers did like the green room, so you could like go in there, check on them, and talk to
That's
people.
cool.
So it all gives you like a little exposure, and yeah, all that happened like along while I was doing like open mics and trying to get comfortable with comedy and
Yeah. I'm just for one I'm like I'm happy that I don't know why I almost assume everybody's in New York, but it's refreshing that you're in South Carolina. It's just I don't know, I'm like, oh, I'm just so used to cuz like it's just that's how it's ended up. A lot of the comics I like are just in New York. That's just how it's ended up. Um but occasionally I get lucky and
yeah.
and that's awesome. I also noticed too, I wanted to ask you like what I like about you is that you're always putting some kind of video or something together like on your Instagram. Like there's always like stuff for people to watch if they wanted to, and that's what I like about you. You know what I mean? Like even pandemic, if you can't really
Yeah.
say perform here, that won't stop you from like making a video on your own and just I love stuff like that. So like how do you some of the stuff you do, like where do you get those ideas? Are you just kind of sitting at home and like, oh, that sounds funny, and you just start writing stuff down?
Um, yeah, it's mostly like it's like a mix of like having like new joke ideas and just like making them to like a funny meme or something, just putting it together. Or like I think towards the end of last year I found out when Instagram started doing the reels,
Mm.
and because I'm not on TikTok and I like refused to get on TikTok, but then I kind of like got happy when Instagram started the reels, and I was like, okay, maybe I can just use that just to like, because during the pandemic there's not many shows, and I kind of like want to put content out to like be
Exactly. Yeah.
consistent and just like have exposure or people notice you. And which kind of like helped too because like there was some local people that like follow me and watch my stories. So, and one of the DJs follows me and watch my stories. He told another guy that books shows like, "Hey, she's really good. We should book her."
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of like helped me getting a spot on the show. But then it got canceled because of the virus. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I always see it that way. Like you never know who's watching your stuff. So whatever you put out,
and it's
the right person might see it,
I
reach out.
I'm not a comic, but I also think it's a good way to stay creative and to get your stuff out there. You know, I mean, even if you're not necessarily like, I know I'm pretty sure it's fairly easy for you to get like Zoom shows. I would think at least during the pandemic, but I mean, even just doing some like some funny sketch by yourself or with a friend or something. I mean, it's just, you're finding ways to stay creative, and I just like to see stuff like that. And I'm an adult, and I despise
Yeah,
TikTok. I tried it once, and I'm like, this is
yeah,
stupid. Like, I can't. I, I'm sorry for, any of my friends listening that may use TikTok, but I'm just like, no. I'm like, like I tried it, and it's just, I don't, I don't
I
understand
just
it. But like I said, I'm just old. I'm
I
not,
know
I'm not hip.
it's yeah, I can't get into TikTok. And then even like now on Instagram Reels, you see people just post like TikTok
Mm-hmm.
videos they post up on there. And sometimes I just kind of like scroll through them, and it's just a bunch of people just dancing or doing voiceovers, and I'm like, that's not original. And then people get like millions of followers just for
Yeah,
doing some voiceover or some dance challenge. And then
I
here I
know.
am with my original content trying to get like 2 likes and
Oh,
a
I
few
know.
hundred views. But
It's really. I was looking up some. It's really stupid. It makes no sense. Like, and
I know.
I look at half the stuff, and like, how does how does that have X amount of like likes and all that stuff? I'm like, it just like you said, it's somebody lip syncing to a song or doing some stupid dance, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I
Yeah,
said, I guess I'm just not hip, you know. There's like little 12-year-old kids on TikTok getting like millions of views and stuff. It's
I
ridiculous.
know.
It's
And they
it.
make money off it and
Oh, I
all that stuff.
know. Like
It's
the I read. I didn't read it. I saw it on the news. When I was at my sister's for Christmas. The highest paid YouTube star last year was a 9-year-old kid, and he reviews toys, and he made like near 30 million the year. And I'm like, that's just stupid. That's ridiculous. A 9-year-old kid just talking about toys. That's it. I
like my,
don't.
my parents didn't even let me have a computer until I was 14.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Geez, I didn't. I didn't even use. I remember in school, we had these old like IBMs, and we would get like when we go to the library to like work on projects and stuff, we would be allowed to use the computer for like 30 minutes. But I didn't actually have a computer in the home until I was like later in high school. I was like maybe 16. And I remember back when they had like dial up, if somebody called, it would
Oh
kick you
yeah.
off the
Yeah.
internet, and technology, I
Yeah.
swear.
Yeah, my mom was really scared of getting internet when it like kind of like started like coming out, and my mom was like, "I don't want to get it. It's so dangerous, and all these hackers are gonna come in, and like people talking about viruses that are
I
going
know.
around." My mom was like, "I don't want that." And then when we finally got it, she was like the one that was always on the computer playing games
Oh yeah.
online or something. I had to like kick her off to just like get like some time on it.
So, I want to say, just so you know, for do you have anything planned? Do you have anything planned like coming up? Do you have anything like scheduled off the
Actually,
by any
not right
chance?
now.
Okay.
I did my last, yeah, I did my last Zoom show on Wednesday this week,
Oh, it was just
and
this past Wednesday?
cause I'm like, yeah, I did a Zoom show, and for me, it's always like waves where I'm like, where I'm like in the mood of doing Zoom shows, and then I kind of like my threshold of Zoom shows is kind of like filled, where I'm like, okay, I don't really feel like doing Zoom shows right now,
Mm-hmm.
and because there's still a few local open mics that happen here and there, and sometimes every now and then I go to one where it's like one of those where I like feel comfortable going, where it's like not too crowded and people like take precautions. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like try to mix it up, like do a couple like live open mics and a few Zoom shows.
I wanted to ask you, where you live, like, are there, how many are, like, I'm assuming there's at least one comedy club near you that you can actually go to?
Yeah, the closest one to us is a Comedy Zone,
Okay.
Charlotte.
So
But that
that
one's
is
been
that's where I've seen pictures of you at.
no, that was actually in Greenville because
Oh,
the
okay.
Charlotte one is closed because of the regulations. Because it's in North Carolina, but South Carolina has different rules, so South Carolina is more open.
Yeah, I went, we were talking when I went to see Mark, that was indoors. And they had like the
Yeah, he
seats
was. He,
the seats were like spread apart by like tables, and the tables were blocked off, so it was like two chairs here and then a space and then two chairs, space, two chairs. So I mean it was pretty responsible and stuff. I just like the fact that you could go inside and sit down. And but I've also seen these outdoor shows in like New York and stuff. I'm like, I'd love to go to something like that if when the weather's nice. I wouldn't do it now because it's
yeah,
like super cold.
yeah. The one in Greenville actually, I don't want to say it scares me a little, but I went to see Mark in November.
Yeah.
I saw him like 2 days in a row because he got canceled and shot it like 5 times. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go 2 days in a row, and then because I figured like I went to in September, I went to a club in Ohio in Cleveland, and they were really good about it. Like you had to buy two tickets in two increments, like at least two, four. So I actually had to buy two tickets for myself. And they had all the tables spaced away from each other, and there wasn't a room, and they had some special air circulation going on, and
So
everybody
you
wore a
would you had
mask.
to buy those tickets so it would take the entire table. So you'd have like that
Yeah, you
whole.
would have to. Yeah, they wouldn't put two different groups on the same
Oh
table.
yeah,
So if you were just
that's
by
good.
yourself, you had to buy two tickets, and then every time you get up, you have to wear your mask. So I like that. And then in November, I went to see Mark in Greenville, and I figured that was the first time in a while I went back to the Comedy Zone in Greenville. So I figured, okay, they probably have like vacation, but it wasn't really the case. Like we walked in, and then they pretty much had all the tables in front squeezed next to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and we got like front row seats. And then I felt like the person next to me was almost on my lap, and I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, I'm gonna get sick tonight. I'm gonna catch the Rona. And like we were like in Greenville, you're like the front row is right up to the stage, so you pretty much can like handshake Mark if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But like everybody was squeezed so in, and it was packed. They had like full capacity. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna come back tomorrow. I don't know if I feel too safe and comfortable. But I did go back the second night, but I made sure that I'm like really far in the back and try to keep my mask on as much as possible because
Yeah,
there was like no spacing. And
when we went to see him, this place called Arlington Draft House, near DC, they had there was like four rows of seats right in front of the stage, but those were all closed off. They were all taped off. Then there was like a little wooden kind of counter bar, and I sat like right there, basically just sat up as close as possibly could. But I mean, things were spaced out pretty good, and I was kind of sitting there, and I ordered a beer, and I was like, well, fuck it, I'm taking my mask off. I'm sitting there, and when I wasn't doing anything, I'd put it back on. I'd be responsible about it, but I'm like, it feels weird to be like laughing with it on,
yeah,
because after a while, I'm like, I have to take this off. I can't breathe. That's me though. I mean, after wearing a
yeah,
mask for a certain amount of time, like I have to take this off.
yeah,
And I wanted to ask you,
yeah,
I,
that's
I
like, that's,
I'm sorry. I had to bring this picture up. I laughed out loud when I saw it. The Bernie Sanders one you did. Like I literally laughed out loud
oh,
when
with him in the
I
back.
yeah, I literally laughed out loud when I saw it because that's everybody was doing that, of course, but I don't know why, but I saw that one and I'm just like, that's perfect because it's like things with how it is now. there generally aren't a lot of people, and how it's like that's it's just kind of you, and you just kind of have him in the background. It was just perfect. Like it's funny. That's one of the better ones I've seen.
his lighting to where he like doesn't stand out too much and just blends in, so it looks like he actually was there. Because I saw some people do like really bad Photoshop where you can see, okay, he's like pasted in there.
But that looks like he would actually be sitting on that floor in that chair. It looks
yeah.
So let's see here. It's weird because I had to start a second one. It's like I'm like the timing for it's like I'm all thrown off. I'm like I'm all out of whack. But let's see here. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna record basically a separate intro and outro, and I'll mention all of your social media stuff and that. Is that really the only kind of? Is there anything specific you want me to mention, or anything specific you want to mention before we wrap up?
I don't really have anything big coming up. I mean, here are my socials. I just joined Clubhouse yesterday. I don't know if that's something big.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it too. My cousin got an invite, and he said, "Join this." So I'm on there, but I don't do anything on it.
Like so lost right now.
I know. Yeah, he showed me how to use it, but I haven't been using it. Like I set up my profile and everything, but I haven't gone on and actually.
And I was like so overwhelmed and confused.
Yeah, it's basically like a chat room with a bunch of people, but you can like talk to them and hear them. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well,
for the invite.
You're welcome. Have a good evening, and don't get into too much trouble.
No, I'm just staying home all weekend.
Alrighty, well, thanks again. Have a good one. It's nice meeting you.
You too.
All right.
Meeting you.
Bye.
Bye.
That concludes this week's episode of Life's a Bit with Larry Mullins. Please follow the pod on all social media at Life's a Bit Pod. If you are listening, please follow, rate, subscribe, and write a review. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell your friends. While you're at it, please follow Micah on all social media at Miss Meike. That's MISSMEIKEE at Miss Meike. Again, everybody, thank you so much for listening and watching. We'll catch you on the next one.